Hey everyone, Temporal here, and for this session we are reviewing an Ashe. This is a quick play game, I believe, so unranked. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, or actually maybe this is a placement game. I have a tough time believing that this is a 26-minute quick play game. This is going to be some epic overtime if it is. But if you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that helps out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate the support there. Or if you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, see what sort of promos, special events we have, all that good stuff.
5, 4, 3.
Okay, so I immediately don't like that we're, okay, better, sort of. Okay, so what are we doing?
The payload.
Are we holding a beat on someone? Are we holding an off angle? Are we holding an off angle? Are we going to be ready to shoot here? I can live with being ready to shoot here, but I probably don't want to just be, like, obvious if I'm ready to shoot here. All right, Unranked Ashe, first thing you're going to work on is picking the right major. There you go. There you go. I can live with that. That's a little shallow. Don't reload as you're crossing here. If you were going to keep reloading, stay behind the cover. But really, this is the sort of thing where you were going to consider, do I want to take the time to wrap my way up here and take out their backline? And the answer is yes. Yes, you did. Because this, you've got a similar angle to your Hanzo. You worked your way over to cover option, which I like, but this would have been so much stronger. And that's pretty common on this map. You'll learn for Junkertown specifically, it's incredibly common that what you do is you go, hey, there's 3 lanes here. As soon as my epic pen shows up. There we go. There are 3 lanes here. And you want to go ahead and get control of as many of them as possible. And unsurprisingly, these guys are not really running flankers to come punish you for wrapping around and being able to shoot down here. Or if they've advanced too far, you advance to here and shoot down here. Or pop up to here and shoot down here. And you can still scamper on away for your retreat. And then you can see a Hanzo do the same thing over here. Now, he's not going to, but maybe your Roadhog will do the same thing over here. Or maybe your Roadhog will go do it through here. But, like, don't get over caught up on this. This is a really important spot, don't get me wrong, but you control this spot by getting controls of the sides first, not by shooting it down mid. Like, you see this Rhine shield is working against your whole team. It's going to break because you guys have enough damage to break it, but if you can take them out before breaking the shield, even better, which would have required angles to go around it. Close the angle.
Fire in the hole.
Yeah, okay. I don't see a good need to have done that there. Like, again, you've had perfectly well, okay, you're worried about them, fine. Yeah, you just let them take as much space. Like, the fight is here. This is the important spot for the cart, right back here. Like, this is the thing that's incredibly hard for them to get through. You take your high ground, you take your angles. Someone pushes through here. Yes, a tank sort of stops it here. Someone potentially threatens from over here. But, like, you don't want the cart to get past here. And you guys just didn't do enough because you were all trying to shoot into a Rhine shield, which amazingly held out. Unfortunate. Ashe has a PhD in grudges and payback. Okay, just ask McCree. Sure. Prediction 1. Positioning high ground. Yeah, those would have both been helpful here. Okay, bring your crosshair. There you go. Aim your crosshair. Aim your crosshair when an opponent is most likely to appear. As you're advancing back from spawn, you should just get in the habit when you're walking in general of having your crosshair aimed to where an opponent is likely to show up. They're not going to show up on the ground. They're not. That could have been scary. What are you waiting for? You heard the high noon go off. Okay, maybe Louis set our rewind distance to less than that. Cool. So high noon, you go for cover. Great. Fine. You saw him shoot the shot. You saw him shoot the shot. You heard him shoot the shot. We can peek again and help, right? We don't have to peek on the entire team. We can just peek here and just be trying to deal with him. We don't have to like peek out here where maybe the rest of his team could see us. Just a baby little peek. What are you hiding from? You still think high noon is going on. That's unfortunate. His shot does make a pretty distinctive sound, and I'm going to let you listen to it again, just so you can sort of internalize this. You heard that? You heard that shot? Okay. 2 audio cues. New, like a digging hero that just shows up, like they come out of holes that they've made in the ground. Okay, Crunch, okay. I can live with that. We've talked about using TNT early against a single opponent and why we don't love it, but that opponent was not visible to you for shots when you threw the TNT. Not when you exploded it, but when you threw it, so that's fine. Oh, you and Hanzo are stacked. I hate it. I hate it. Are you going to wander? Yeah, you needed to shift. And you're not going for the Mega. You're going to play from here with 2 health. Okay. Just go peek Mercy, press X. Press X, good.
Thank you.
Perfect. Mercy's got you covered. You're going to take out Soldier. It's going to be beautiful.
Direction.
So that is too shallow and you know it. You know that's too shallow. I know it can be a little hard to judge the depth on her TNT, but that's too shallow. And we're not going to open with the TNT on these guys unless we're going to hit a bunch of them. And we totally could hit a bunch of them, but we'd have had to throw our TNT deeper.
Don't mess with an original.
Okay, but Soldier. Soldier's the one you want. Like, Soldier's the one who's most dangerous to you of these guys. You know that there's a Soldier over here because you just saw him. So let's prioritize him. Because if we can remove him, these 2 are going to have a much harder time doing damage to you. He can still do some damage to you. But these 2 are going to have a much harder time doing damage to you. So let's remove the Soldier real quick. Prioritize the one who can give you trouble. Or give your team the most trouble. And right now, that's not Reinhardt. You did not need that shift. Try and clean him up. You have an ult going off. So, like, we would actually try to take advantage of this. I know the checkpoint's been lost, but because the ult's going off, and because our Hanzo and Ball are clearly engaging, and our Mercy's in this, we can still win the fight. Like, even though it sucks that they got the checkpoint, your team is still fighting for this, has decided that this is the fight that they want, and it's still better to wipe them, and you're pretty likely to wipe them here, and you had the ult going off, so go ahead and wipe them and then leave type thing, or go ahead and wipe them and then spawn camp them. Don't just go, oh, they got the checkpoint, I'm backing off, if your team is very still in the fight. No dynamite when they cap just for the sake of getting Bob. Good round. I mean, it wouldn't have been just to get Bob. They would have won.
I'm hungry. Higher.
Okay. Up we go. Play tighter on the cover. Whoa now. Whoa now. You're so far from cover. So this TNT isn't going to finish anyone off. It's incredibly likely that it's going to finish anyone off. So I actually just want it to chill there. Like, I don't want to shoot this TNT. I'm perfectly happy, because this TNT was never going to finish anyone off, to just let this TNT sit here. And be like, okay, what are you guys going to do? Because you could get some damage out of this TNT, and that's not worthless to get some damage out of this TNT, but you're never going to get the follow-up to get an elimination off of this TNT. So just having it sort of guard this, and take time off this, and make them figure out how to go around and come through low ground, or force Zen to spend more time in the open alone because his teammates won't come out to support him, that's better than blowing it up and getting a little damage damage on the Zarya that you knew was there from the sites that you had. Why? Why are we walking away like there was clearly a Zen we could shoot at?
I cast this forth.
Did Moira first left click, then orb, and stood still. Ashe and safety. Yikes! That was not a sentence. If this is unranked, she's probably somewhere in gold where I wouldn't really trust anyone on the team. Fair enough. Yes, let me coach gun to the moving platform 4 pixels away. Okay. Okay. TBBG is a silver tank. Okay, so that's giving us something. Something to work out of. Howdy, howdy. Welcome to the chat. So, you get a little bit of credit for your Bob is touching the point, and that's cool. Your Bob sort of has a different angle than you, and he's firing from here, you're firing from here. But I have a sneaking suspicion that what you sort of like wanted was your Bob back here. Bob sadly cannot go through the cart. So this would have been, a Bob over here would have been better, but you couldn't get it. So what could you have done? You could have waited for this to push more. That's an option. You could have also changed your angle a bit and thrown your Bob here, and then sent your Bob through. Bob would have probably hit this and slid a little, and then it's like, okay, if you get your Bob through and you get your Bob like here-ish, well, that's pretty scary to them. And that's not really in a place where they can just deal with Bob either with the locations that they're in. If they turn to deal with Bob, your team is going to do pretty good work. So I'd have preferred that Bob as opposed to this Bob. This Bob it's okay, it's touching point, but your Reinhardt was already doing that. Okay, good job. Really low gold or silver. Okay. How are so many people getting paid reviews on Ranked? Do you just not know their rank? Are they doing placements? There's not so many people doing paid reviews on Ranked. I've done multiple reviews for this person, and they are paid reviews that are unranked, but you're not actually finding me doing a lot of different people at paid reviews unranked. Okay. Okay, Maroshan. Hopefully we can help you with that. Hopefully we can help you that. Okay, so you're going to take your shot here. It's a little well, it's not dicey yet. You go for your TNT, which is fine. Hopefully it'll drive them off. And this is clearly over. So you just need to close this angle. They have a grav going, they have a visor going. Like, I'm not interested in this anymore. Your team's probably going to lose this fight. Let's just tuck to the left and close this angle until some of this team's push power ends. Maybe that's, hey, their visor runs out. Maybe that's, hey, let them get more focused on something else. But it's not time to shoot at this team anymore. This was predictable, and this is not a valid retreat. You have to understand where your retreat is. I'm wanting you to play tighter on cover. I didn't like it when you were out here. You were tighter on cover this time than you were the previous time you were in this general area. But you have to understand that what playing on the cover is getting you is the option to close the angle. The option to actually close the angle, that's your retreat from danger. Your retreat from danger is not let me coach weapon generically away. I have to understand what direction safety is against what threats. Because sometimes your safety will be in different directions against different angles that are threatening you that the opponents control. But against this one, we absolutely understood this was our safety. If you can't climb anymore, it's time for a review to find out why. Good answer, Blah.
You're getting me riled up.
I'm being attacked.
You have 12 shots. You tried. You tried. Why would you unscope? Like, I'm unclear. Either, if you're unscoping, it would be to continue backing up and go around this corner. If you're scoping, it's to try to eliminate him before he eliminates you. Either of those are fine with me, but you just stopped and started reloading? What? 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 Why did we stop? Like, I don't mind. The truth is you were going to have a really tough time getting out. You were a little too far forward when that high noon came out to actually get out safely. And it was also going to be tough with your first shot not being a headshot to get him eliminated. Like, both of those were going to be tough. But I'd have totally been fine with you going for either of them. You sort of split the difference where you're like, okay, I'm scoped, so I'm moving a little slower as I go for a couple shots here. Then I'm dropping my scope to back up, dropping my scope, but I'm actually going to stop backing up when I drop my scope, but I'm going to reload. Like, you had two different solutions, and you're like, let me find the worst compromise of both. Either one of these would have been fine, but not this weird compromise of both that isn't actually either. And you could have been backing up while scoped while shooting at it, and you'd never have made it, but that would have been fine. Because you still were completely in the I can try to eliminate him version of the answer. Okay.
You're getting me riled up.
Okay, so here you are. You have cover to your right, and you decide to step here. And this makes your TNT a little bit easier, but if you want to step from here, step all the way to here instead. So you've got your cover again. You're too far. You're too far. BAP can just be like, nope, I'm going to triple shot you. BAP can be like left click, left click, left click, and you won't make it to cover in time. Whereas if you're right here, BAP is like left click, and you're like, nah, I don't like that. See how that works? See how that works?
Here it comes.
Good. Okay, Hanzo is shooting this angle, so even though it's only a slightly different angle, you'd like to work your way back to this angle. You would. Notice where your Hanzo is and try to be at least a little different on your angle. Okay. So now, next chance you get, you're going to work your way back to the right, because now Hanzo is in the middle. Okay, now you can't work your way to the right because they backed up too much. Take space. Go high ground. High ground. High ground. Good. Drop TNT behind them. Beautiful. Okay, few more shots than you needed, and this was like when you were shooting extra shots into the diva that was mech that was already eliminated, but that's okay. And for those of you that are confused, that was in a previous review. The diva that he was shooting bullets into after it was demeched consistently.
I've sighted the enemy.
Smoke him out.
Okay.
Bob, do something.
Okay. Let's do this. It's gonna make the USB unplugged sound, guys. That's just me. It's not you. Okay. So, what we look at here. You go in and use your ult. So you're choosing for the team fight to happen in this general area. This general area. Cool. I'm good with that. Except that your team is over here. So this area probably doesn't make sense for a team fight right now. And if this area doesn't make sense for an actual team fight right now, you can poke them in this area. You can pressure them as they're trying to advance, as they're trying to rotate to where your team actually wants to take a team fight, which is like over here-ish it looks like. But you don't want to commit your ult to this because you're going right now that me plus ult, 1U, 1U, 1 up, whatever, is worth more than 4. And it's not. It's not. If it was, you'd be much higher ranked than these guys. If you plus your ult was reliably enough to take out 4, not even with your team as distractions, just you plus your ult was enough to take out 4 when they're paying attention to you, you would not be at this level. So this isn't what anyone wants to do. You don't ever want to do this because the ladder is finding, or even the quick play ladder, the placement ladder, whatever, is finding relatively even opponents for you. You need to engage them when and where your team can engage them. This doesn't work. It's the punchy bap. The punchy bap is coming back. Oh yeah, that close range bap. That's true. That's true. So this is a placement match. I believe so. Yes. That would be the only way to get a competitive unranked match. Yeah. I mean, hey, it's not guaranteed that this is a competitive match, guys. It's 26 minutes long, and they're on third point, but we could be going into a 19-minute overtime for all we know. For all we know, guys. But yes, yes. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's kind of what we expect to happen. You're like, yes, my Bob is going in, etc., but you were forcing a 1v4, and your ball realizes and is like, oh, let me come join, and your Reinhardt even is like, oh, maybe I should come around and join too. He ends up getting shattered. Your team tries to advance to join, but like, you get eliminated. Now your team looks like they're still going to clean it up, but you get eliminated because you tried to challenge this basically alone.
You get me riled up.
I don't actually think it's a 90-minute overtime. I think it's a placement match. Previously, they hadn't done all their placement matches, and I suspect this is one of them. Okay. You expected multiple people to be there. Careful. Find your angle. Like, it's okay for you to tuck a little more back like you're starting to do here. I didn't love you being here because you can't really back into high ground. Like, you can't back up more to make the high ground hide you from the opponent. So I liked it a little more if you're here or here, where you actually have the option of using this as, backing up a step to create. Like, if you're here, you can keep backing up, and it becomes more and more effective cover for you. Or you can push forward, and it becomes less. If this is behind you, you have to go, like, over here first before you can do that. I like that you've adjusted over to here. You heard that that's over there. Help your mercy. You can't see him through walls, but you heard him. You heard him directionally. Unfortunate. We would like to deal with him. We really would. Generally, the opponent on the most aggressive off angle is the most dangerous opponent, and they're the one that you want to deal with first. Remember over here when I'm like, hey, deal with the soldier? He was the most dangerous opponent because he could hit you up here when the others mostly couldn't. Now, McCree's the most dangerous opponent because he's got really aggressive positioning. He's got a nice angle differential from his team. He's also on top of your mercy. You need to deal with him. You do.
Here it comes.
Okay. Was Valner's last review in the past 2 months? I don't see them on my list. It was an upload, so it wouldn't have been a stream. It would have been an upload. But it's published. Yeah, it's here. Crunch wanting the Torb review. Okay. Why did we drop? Did we have to drop? Oh, Monkey knocked us down. No. You just fell. We didn't want to fall. Falling off high ground was not the play there. Once you fell contest support was fine.
My servants never die. Time to change things up.
Hey, use your cover. Yeah.
There's only one way.
Basically timed out already. Okay, take out the BAP. Take out the BAP. That would be amazing. Why? Why are we throwing our TNT at this BAP? We haven't hurt this BAP with shots yet. Remember, if we hurt this BAP with shots, we can then throw a TNT at the edge because we expect him to be retreating and we can blow up the TNT and get him as he's retreating. Or if the BAP is like stacked with his soldier and someone else, we can throw the TNT and get a lot of damage. But this is a BAP that we haven't done any damage to yet. We don't particularly expect to be low health. It doesn't make sense to open with TNT on him. It makes sense he was in the open when you started this TNT. It makes sense to shoot at him. Use the gun. Use the weapon. Here, I'll tell you which one it is, Blah, since you're not seeing it. Don't need TNT to finish them unranked Ashe. That was uploaded on the 23rd, 2 days ago. Okay.
Let's get you back in the fight.
Do something.
Okay. Please get out of the open. Please get out of the open. Go find cover. Okay. Way too much in the Windows face for me. Diego says, "Hey Temporal, hope you're doing great. Thank you for the consistent and very beneficial content." No problem, Diego. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you for stopping by. Or perhaps more than stopping by. Sounds like you're watching a fair amount of it. I appreciate that. I hope it's helping you.
30 seconds.
Leave this to me.
Understood.
Cool. We go for this.
10 seconds.
In the bag.
Okay.
I stick up.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this in the bag.
You hear it, so your immediate thought should be, what direction do I hear it from? I might look in the direction I hear it from, and I'm also going to think about, do I have cover in the direction it's coming from? And at the moment, if you're combining wait, I can hear the direction with wait, where am I? Yes, you do have cover you can get behind.
I stick up for my
He's on your screen. You heard him, you had the opportunity to hear him, and he's on your screen. And he's easier to see on your screen than he is in my replay, because in my replay here, you've got all this junk up here in the way. This isn't here on your game. So he's a little more obvious on your game than he is on mine. So we don't want to be running forward into this. We also, again, heard him, and now we don't have any cover options because we stepped too far forward. And now we're trying to win. We're trying to win like a in the open firefight with no cover for either of us when he has aim hacks. That's not going to go very well for us. That's not going to go very well for us. Oh, that makes sense, Blah. If you want to throw that up in the Discord, I could pin it, and you probably have to either. I don't know what you'd want to do for access control though, because if you leave it open to anyone, someone might just, overwrite it with random names. The only way to counter filter during his ultimate massive form of cheating? No. Okay, so again, we're two in the open. What's this? We coach weaponed ourselves back, so we could tuck back here. We coach weaponed ourselves back, so we could tuck back here. Like, we can have cover options. We can still do plenty. Even when we were trying to shoot them down here, we can be thinking about, can we be here? Can we be here? Like, cover is great. Okay.
Here it comes.
Okay. No. Again, your Hanzo is here. You sort of want to keep a mental note of where the Hanzo is because you'd greatly like to not take the same angle as him. And when you're back here, you can sort of see him through walls, so it's not hard to be like, oh, that's my Hanzo. So we actually wanted to be here. Even though there was that annoying Winston bubble, you can pump some bolts into the Winston bubble. You can look for targets around the Winston bubble. Here, let's go back.
Here it comes.
Annoying Winston bubble, I agree. But I can shoot Winston. He's peeking to the right of it. Can shoot at that Winston. Changing your angle has some value, but now you see the Hanzo went there, and I get you were trying to use your reload time to change your angle, and that's generally a good move, but we see our Hanzo's here now, so let's go right back, and when we get back here, we'll have like 6 shots in our weapon, and we can use those. That's enough to spend. No. Now you have full ammo, so this was in some ways a good use of your rotational time, a good use of the reload time to get a new angle, except that you saw your Hanzo was here like immediately. And I really wouldn't recommend this either. Like, this already happened. If you did this to not take the pile driver damage, fine. Totally fine. But at this point, you're putting yourself, your mobility, your escape on cooldown, and it's fine because this is cleanup and you guys are going to win this, but you're putting your escape on cooldown to not really do anything for yourself. To be like, aha, let me knock him a little bit away from me and put myself here? Is this where I want to be? Not really. Can I go find better cover?
Do something.
Well, okay, you're not going to clean this up. Yeah, and again, you're in the middle there, and that's a problem. You're putting yourself in the middle, you used your coach weapon, and you didn't get to safety with your coach weapon, and then it's on cooldown, and you're like, oh, shoot, I'm not in safety, and I don't have my cooldown. That's not good. That's what happens when you're not in safety and you don't have your cooldown.
Score.
Ashe should get a new ability where she attaches her dynamite to Hanzo's arrow. Okay. Or Hanzo shooting the dynamite and carry it to victory.
My business. Ready for
My
battle.
rules.
Ready for battle. Ready for
Okay,
battle.
we continue.
There's nothing to be for. Stick together. We will complete our mission.
Come out and face me.
5, 4.
I mean, Blizzard could use anything, right? Blizzard could use any announcements to try to change the media focus right now. So announcing something silly like Ashe being able to tie TNT to Hanzo arrows, that might help. Temporal, how would you rate the macro plan on the Blackboard and Junkertown attacker spawn? Ah, yes. So let me go find it. I've obviously seen it a bunch of times. Did we break it? Did we lose it? Here we go. Perfect. The plan. Amass vast amounts of treasure. Check. I would have liked to know the micros that went into this, but okay. 2. Load the trolley. Check. Hey, sounds good. Acquire disguises. Okay. Now we start to get into micro points, because like these were just kind of pretty big points, not really explained, but we accomplished them. Now we're on acquire disguises, which that seems like a good plan. Put on the disguises. This is getting much more detailed than our first 2 steps were. Take the trolley to the gate. Sneak inside. Light the fuse. Profit. Okay. So, here's the plan. We're going to get vast amounts of treasure. We're going to load the trolley. In theory, with the treasure, maybe not with the treasure. Maybe the treasure is the excuse to put the explosives on the... Did we... Light the fuse? Yeah. So we didn't say anything about explosives. So, like, in theory, the trolley has explosives, treasure, both. You know, maybe the bait is that does treasure, and that's how it's going to get in, but it's actually explosives, or maybe it's both. Maybe they had to amass enough treasure to get the trolley in to come home as heroes or whatever, and they're willing to sacrifice that to blow up the place because they want to. I just don't know how this is going to cause profit unless it's, you know, going to, like, get them control of something, get control of an asset, etc. So, like, again, there's a lot of detail to this section, but like I need to know more about this, and I'd like to know more about these compared to the level of detail that we got for really these 4 steps here. That's kind of miss it. But from a macro aspect, it kind of looks too complicated. It kind of looks like there's too many breakpoints, and I'd like, again, more details if we're going to go this complicated route. Like, how do I want to explain this? In hindsight, we know that there were some problems that didn't work with it, but it doesn't really give us detail where detail feels warranted. And then apparently people missed steps, and the executors of the plan needed those details because obviously this didn't work out. So I don't know. I'm probably not the greatest macro plan ever. Probably not the greatest macro plan. Probably not the greatest plan ever from a macro standpoint. It's by the doors. Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know what this is about. Oh, you probably wanted to pop yourself up here? Get closer to this before you pop yourself up here. A, you obviously didn't aim down hard enough, but B, get yourself closer to here before you pop up here, and then work yourself out to maybe this angle. We'll take note when enacting your plan, okay. Weapon, shoot your shot. Your crosshair was on the Zen. Shoot your shot, don't use your TNT. After you shoot your shot, the Zen is going to retreat behind this wall. And then you're going to throw your TNT over this wall, and you're going to blow it up over this wall. And that's going to be wonderful. That's how you do things as Ashe. We don't want to open on the Zen with TNT, and we don't want to open on the Zen with TNT when our crosshair is already on top of them. We put TNT as a projectile where they're going to be, but we'd like in this situation to open with our left click, because TNT alone won't take them out. We would like to hit them with a shot or two and then get the TNT.
Smoke out of there. Damn.
Okay, so it was shallow, but even if it hadn't been, like, that wasn't going to finish the Zen. It was just going to cause them to retreat a little bit, which is helpful, but not nearly as helpful as threatening the actual limb. No, we're not going to keep this angle open while they have Discord on us. They have played this much better than us. Clear the Discord. Decent fade.
Here it comes.
Again, too shallow, wrong spot. We want it to be like over here-ish. Not here-ish when we throw our TNT. Some Mario coach weapon. Yes, there's Reinhardt there, and you turned and shot him immediately because you had the Sonic arrow, so you knew he was there. But now that you can see, there's better targets here. You can put pressure on either of these targets, and that's more valuable. If you think of like value per shot, even though these shots are harder to hit, these are going to do more as a percentage of these people's life. Ryan can take a few shots without it really playing where and changing where and how he plays. If Soldier takes 1 or 2 shots, he's going to go to cover. If Bap takes 1 or 2 shots, he's going to go to cover or use his cooldown, which any of those are good outcomes. It's going to cause them to be either more vulnerable to actually getting eliminated, either by you or by someone else, or to play in more passive spots, which will cause them to contribute to the fight less, which will cause your team to slowly work up an advantage. Both of those things are good, and better payoffs, better expected payoffs, even including the fact that they're harder to hit than continuing to shoot at Reinhardt here is. Words are hard. Yeah, we don't want this. We don't want this. If she hits the invisible block, does she get a star and then she can run around invincible? Or does she get fire breath? I hope she gets fireball. Can you think of dynamite as swift strike to finish off enemies? No. No, you cannot. Swift strike is Swift strike behaves very, very differently than dynamite. Yes, you can use both of them to finish off enemies, but swift strike is I got you weak and I instantly press this button to finish you off, and then I potentially get back out. Or swift strike can be your escape. TNT is not your escape. TNT is not particularly amazing once people have gotten into close range with you. What you'd like to do with TNT is you'd like to shoot someone once or twice, and then as they're retreating, either if you can throw it over the cover onto them, great, or throw it right along the edge of the cover so it gets there, and then blow it up so you still get them and they burn and get eliminated as they're retreating. Or you can use TNT as an opener on a group of opponents. That's fine too. You drop the TNT there, and that's fantastic. It gets a group of enemies. Fine as an opener against multiple, good as a finisher against a single, good as a finisher against a single when they are retreating, also useful against a single to intentionally move their movement. But you again throw it towards the cover to actually control their movement to cause them to walk away from where it's going, which causes them to walk away from the cover, which puts them in the open where you can beat them with your left clicks. It's a projectile, you use it like one, you take advantage of its burn property, you control their movement with it, you finish them off with it if they've gone behind cover, or you open with it for AoE damage. Very different than a Swift Strike. Swift Strike, I guess, can be like, hey, it's AoE damage, because you dash through multiple people sometimes, but they're very different. Just because they share being a finisher and you sometimes get AoE out of them, I wouldn't really mentally compare them.
Somebody get me some healing.
Okay. Again, you're very much on the same line as your team right now. I hope we move. Go up right side, right side, right side. Right. Okay. He had the same idea, and he's going to do exactly what I wanted you to do on your defense.
I could use some assistance. Get out of there.
You see how that works, though? Like, he was able to just come out here and be like, I'm going to take multiple people out. Now, his team didn't really push what was happening. He didn't do it while your team was pushing into his team, so it wasn't as strong as it could have been, but it was still pretty strong. Crunch says, remember, Genji mains, when you see an entire team, including a Brig, Roadhog, McCree, you should swift strike through all of them. Ensure they are at full health so you don't end up eliminating one, dealing less damage and getting less ult. Yes, Crunch is trolling hardcore. Good opener. You don't want to get flashed. Okay. Probably would have just accepted, like, this is okay. You're done. Drop out of scope, and finish him with hip shots. Hip fire shots. Yeah, this is... Okay, fine.
It's always
Good. And that was a fine TNT too. Multiple people. Close the angle. Reopen. Bring your crosshair up. Why is your crosshair down here? Is this where Soldier is going to appear? No, you know where Soldier is. You can see his weapon. Your crosshair can be right here. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Go right back to scoping. Forget this E button nonsense. Go right back to scoping. No, your crosshair's so close to the right place. Just scope and shoot him.
Smoke him out of there.
That was shallow. As in, you blew up your TNT too early. Go. Take space. He's not recontesting.
I'm taking care of
-1 for not using Summer Skin Ashe. Fair.
you. Got the payload, I'm moving out.
Did someone call for it?
Winston,
The mole. The floor mole is coming. Speaking of crosshair placement. There was no reason for your crosshair not to be right here because you know that there's a platform here that they can be standing on. You know this. Wrong. Right. And trying actively to do this will actually, A, cause you to get better at actively placing your crosshair in the right place, but it also help you learn the maps better in terms of what sightlines exist, where things are, etc. Like trying to do this while where an enemy is going to appear from thing will actually help you learn the maps faster. No. I don't think she's trying to shoot them in the foot leg. I think she's trying to break the support here. She wants to break the support for the structure with a quick shot here, and then this whole thing is going to collapse, and drop them into her Reinhardt to take down. And it's going to get rid of their window and their lamp while it's at it. It's actually a brilliant strategy. Sadly, it doesn't work in Overwatch. Okay, so I don't want to fight them right now. There's no lamp for me to break. That's a Transcendence. If I can't one-shot them, I'm not interested. Your team isn't fighting them. You'll notice that. Like, your team is trying to figure out how to retreat. Your soldiers may be fighting them, but he's being foolish. You don't also need to be foolish. You look at this and go, if I can't one-shot them, and they're getting 300 health per second, I should just not be interested in this. If someone leaves the Transcendence, maybe I can eliminate them, but I close the angle right now. I don't go forward. I don't scope in. I don't want to be in this fight at all. Soldier and BAP can eliminate you, but it's going to be incredibly hard for you to eliminate either of them. No, leave. Why are you fighting a team that is basically invincible? Why are you doing this?
Bob, do something!
Winston. Ashe. Soldier. BAP. Sigma. McCree. Zen. I don't love it. I don't love ulting into this fight. It's not like 100% undoable, but I don't love it. Like, we look at this and go, are we really here? Are we really in this? Do we really want to ult into this fight when our respawns are that far away? Like, not particularly. On the one hand, Zen is very accessible to you, and you and Soldier may be able to very, very quickly take down Zen, and then it becomes a 3v3. But it's not amazing. Yeah. So that's kind of what I expected to happen.
Don't change things up.
Hi there. Payload secured. Move out.
I think a lot of people who are inexperienced at FPS tend to point their crosshair slightly downward. Yes, YS, they definitely do. Wait up, just understand the Junkerstone Town strategy. She's done it wrong. If she lights the fuse, she would profit by making that detonation on the structure, causing it to fall and eliminate them. And she has a disguise because she has a different skin on. Okay. Light the fuse and profit. Yeah, there you go. Can we pop ourselves up, take the window? It's right there. Yep. There you go. You didn't actually need to advance on him, though. You could take him out just fine, and then wrap your way around over here, and what do you know? We definitely didn't want to drop. That's another time you've accidentally fallen, I believe. See the Reinhardt. Cover left, cover is left, cover is left. I don't actually think you were in time to react to it, but right idea. Again, why are you scoping? Like, does this feel like scope distance?
Double kill.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't scope at that distance. That's not quite what we want. And we've talked about this before. You're a little too reliant on your scope, which suggests to me that you maybe just don't like the sensitivity on your hip fire, because she's not like Anna, where it's like, oh, it's a projectile like this and a hit scan like this. You should be perfectly comfortable using her hip fire as long as you're not spamming it. Spamming it too hard. Scope doubles damage. I mean, I hear you, blah, but like, that's still, you can fire a lot faster in that situation with your hip fire.
My ultimate is charging.
The payload stopped.
Fall back! Fall back! Barrier activated.
How y'all doing?
Enemy contact.
Fall back!
This is not the end.
Good.
Do something!
Reasonable Bob. It's again shallow. Just to show you where you're blowing this up. I know it's actually hard to see the depth from your perspective, but you see that's shallow. You wouldn't have thrown this TNT if you were thinking just Ashe. You needed this TNT to go deeper to threaten these two. Even if you don't actually get them and they run away from it instead, you needed it to go deeper to be worth using over just taking another shot or reloading so you can take another shot.
I stick up for
Okay.
my nanoboost administered.
Okay. Again, there wasn't a great reason to go for this. Like, you're looking at this, and I think this is just a lack of faith in your aim, because there's no reason you can't take shots here. Like, there wasn't a, oh, McCree's hidden from you for any real period of time, and therefore you're trying to TNT to get around his cover or something.
Here it comes!
I'm on fire!
Okay, you're up here. Again, little shallow for what you're trying for. You can take your shots. Totally fine. You see that, and you choose to knock it away with your shift. Great. No problem. Your cooldown's half back, which means his cooldown is back, which means you need to not be here anymore. Because his cooldown, this is sort of like the Genji-Winston interaction, where Dash, if you don't get eliminations, is on a longer cooldown than Winston Leap. So Genji needs to, like, you know, be aware of that and be getting the poke damage done, staying away from him, not let him, you know, get his engage clean. You're sort of in the same situation here, where you have to understand his cooldown is shorter than yours, and his job is to re-challenge you. Because in theory, you will eventually win this team fight for your team if you're just allowed to stand up here and shoot at this team. Your position is too powerful. So he's going to repeatedly contest you. And you need to sort of recognize that and go, well, am I getting support? Well, am I going to be able to take him? Is he actually going to be able to 1v1 me, or is he going to get support if he jumps me and be a problem now that I don't have my coach weapon? And the answer is yes. That's going to be a problem. and you didn't do enough poke damage to either keep him out, or you didn't put enough pressure on him while he was away to justify not changing your position here. Slightly triggering to see the Mercy on this player's team not damage boosting them at all, but that's because you play Mercy. Like, you're always going to judge the hero that you play a lot of harder than you judge the other players in the lobby. Ashe is your favorite damage boost target by far. Fair, fair. Less good since
What is everyone doing?
200 HP breakpoint headshot from Mercy boost went away. Less good since that, but still a good damage boost target. Still a very good damage boost target.
My ultimate is charging. Ultimate ready. Group up. Hey, join me.
Valkyrie is ready.
Come out and face me.
Okay. Careful. Congrats! That's the right way to use TNT.
There's only one.
You still could have let it go a little deeper before you blew it up, but... Fine. Almost. See, there you were willing to use hip fire. I'm not sure why you weren't earlier.
Securing the payload. Round 2 complete.
Walk yourself into danger and then coach weapon to get out. How about if we want to threaten that door, we just threaten the door from this piece of cover rather than walking at it? How about that? Okay, looking good.
Ready for battle. Attackers.
Damage boosting TNTs makes Ashe get Bob every minute, it feels like. Yeah, damage boosted TNTs that hit are pretty darn good. Pretty darn good.
Ready, player one.
Ready for battle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
I'd bring your crosshair up. Like, I understand you are thinking, like, maybe it's most likely that they'll show up here, but the most dangerous place for them to show up would sort of be here, and if someone shows up here, you want to instantly be able to win the firefight on them. You don't want them to get the lead and have hit the first shot on you. So let's probably start up here. Maybe we bring our crosshair down when we see someone, but someone who shows up here is less likely to instantly be aiming at you.
Follow my lead.
Better.
Here it comes.
Again, we don't need to drop here. If we don't like it,
Here it comes.
we just go take different covers. Like this over here. Oh, hey, look, I can have cover against Soldier while still shooting against Rhine. Oh, I can open it and maybe shoot Soldier's weapon, because that'll totally break it. You know, okay, doesn't, but it should. Okay. Why? You can TNT from here. You can just lob it over. You know where the cover is over there. You know what he's going to go behind. He's either going to go behind the cover to run from the TNT. He's going to retreat completely down the stairs to get away from the TNT. Or he's going to go left into the open where he doesn't have cover, and then you can shoot at him. Like, TNT now. Don't TNT now. At this point, you just shoot at him. No, and you definitely don't TNT to his left. Again, you can TNT to his right, but you don't TNT to his left. This is like encouraging him to go behind the cover, which is the exact opposite of what you want. Flick up. Flick up.
They're on the ropes. Put them out of their misery.
Sure. Pressure Bastion.
I still have use for you.
Meh. As a dicey peak, do not have asked for healing.
10 seconds remaining. I want to get you for that.
Are we still swapping? Yeah.
Overtime.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It's over. Let it be. Let it be. Go take high ground. Go take high ground for seconds.
Here it comes.
High ground for seconds. Top right. High ground for seconds. Not low ground. Not low ground. Go up to high ground. Not this high ground. Yeah, try. Good. It's huge if you can get Mercy too. It's fine. Close the angle. Good. And now you can drop bind them and finish them. No, you really could have drop bind them and finished them. I know it feels scary to be like, wait, but I don't have an out, etc. But like, if you'd gone in an instant earlier, right before this door closed, if you drop here and take this fight with Bastion, you can be fine with that. Oh well.
Bob, do something.
You don't need to drop for this, Bob. Oh, no cover. No cover. No dice. Again, I don't care if this Bastion is in play down here, because your McCree's over here, you can be up here, you send your Bob over there, maybe Bastion shoots at your Bob, who cares? You're working from here, the Bastion is irrelevant. Exactly. Okay. Bob's claiming all the eliminations, but heck, we got it done.
My business?
Okay.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Soon.
Ready? 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Payload in motion.
Escort the payload.
Sure. Taking a different angle than your Kree, I can live with it, even if it's putting you on core. You're gonna pop up to the right. Pop up to the right. Pop up to the right. Go far right. Go far right. Deal with the Winstons and put himself. Okay. I don't know why I would TNT there. Even if you don't know where the map went, look at that. Look at that. I almost want to ban you from one-person TNTs. I'm not going to do it, but I almost want to. That, on the other hand, was a little weird. Okay. I know I've been on you about, hey, what... I don't know why this hipfire is showing up, like, to be perfectly honest. Because hipfire, you do spend your ammo pretty quickly when you hipfire. It's good for finishing people off. It's good for when people get close. Like, it's good for both of those things. You didn't spend as much as I thought there. That's good. Sure. No, why would you coach weapon here? Like, who cares? So you can't shoot him when he's got that orb in front of his hand. He's going to absorb damage that's even remotely in that direction. He's just going to absorb it and convert it to health if he's alive or not stunned at the end of that 2-second thing. So like, you can't really shoot at him during that. But you wouldn't coach weapon yourself here to get like the opportunity for one more shot to get around him. No, just be like, whatever, and maybe you go, okay, I'll step over here and I'll take another shot type thing. Like, why are you working so hard for this when you can just literally step over here and there's plenty more to do? There's plenty more to do. Like, he's using a defensive. You can't finish him. Giving up your positioning. You had reasonably good positioning. You're giving it up with this shift, and you're using your defensive, your mobility, to put yourself in a less safe spot. Just change your target and work on something over here.
Here it comes.
You even pop up. Don't fight through the window. Don't fight through the window. McCree once again did what I wanted you to do in your first defensive round. You're gonna get shot. You should look at him. You looking at him, even if you're retreating, puts pressure on him. It puts more pressure on him than you just running from him. Like, you can still back away from him. That's fine. I promise the speed differential between you back away and you walking away, you will more than make up for with the pressure that you put on him by aiming your weapon at him in his general direction, whatever, as you're backing away. It'll cause him to miss more shots. It'll cause him to be rushed. It'll cause him to like, oh, I have to hit this. It'll cause him to spend his own movement trying to dodge your shots. That'll make you more likely to actually get out or eliminate him, which would be even better. At least you didn't jump immediately through the window. That's true. You have to hit it. Good. Cover. Cover's left. Why? Soldier is shooting at you. Go left. Go left. Go left. Left.
I'm escorting the payload. Let's keep it moving.
You get me riled up. This is not the end.
Okay. You're gonna look for a Bob chance. Here you are. Cool. Oh, look, you don't have cover anymore. You don't have cover anymore. You don't have cover anymore. Is your Bob better from here than your Bob would have been from back here? I think your Bob would have been just the same from back here, but then you'd have a cover option. Covers to your right and behind. There you go. Yeah.
Victory.
Okay, so glad we got the win. In terms of things that we need to work on, we're going to start with cover, especially in the first half of the match, but it never completely went away. Like, it stayed here the whole time. You just had windows where you were a little better at it. You need to stay tighter on your cover, but this is more complicated than just, oh, I just need to hug this at all times. Like, yes, hugging this sort of thing at all times would be good, but not only that, you need to know where your escape is, where your cover is at all times. Even if you do get yourself drifting out here, or you do find yourself wandering up to take the next, to take space, you need to always know where your next out is, where your next piece of cover is. If you start taking pressure, where are you going to go? Like, you shouldn't start getting shot at and then have to think, wait, where am I going to go? What do I do? Where do I go to find cover? That shouldn't be what you have to do. You should already know where your cover is. You should already be comfortable that this is currently my piece of cover. 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 I might have to use it in different directions against different opponents, but this is my piece of cover against that direction. This is my piece of cover against that direction. You should know what your cover is at all times, and you should be trying to play near. You really don't get much by being here as opposed to being here. By being here as opposed to being here. You really don't. So know where your cover is. It's actually really important. That's the first thing I want you to do. I want you to have cover, and I want you to know what your cover escape is, like where it is. So when you start getting shot at, you instantly know where relative safety is. That's really important. The second thing is, we haven't gotten rid of this. I know we talked about this last time, but we have to clean up this TNT. I don't care about your group TNTs. Those are fine, other than being too shallow quite regularly. But your single TNTs, your TNTs for single targets, should be to hey, it's going to get them when they're behind cover, or I'm going to throw it to control their movement to force them into the open where I can fight them. That's really what we're looking for. We are not looking to open with TNT on a single target that's not paying attention to us. We are not looking to TNT someone as a finisher when they're in the open. If someone is in the open, and this is the biggest thing, I want you to use your rifle, not your TNT, to finish them off if it is a single target. If someone's running behind cover, absolutely, you can use your TNT to finish them off because you're throwing it going, hey, it's going to be right at the edge of the cover. I'm going to blow it up. It's going to explode getting behind the cover, and that's got value. But in the open, please stop trying to TNT single targets, either as finishers, as openers. Like, stop trying to do that. If you're TNTing a single target, it better be because you're controlling their movement so you can beat them with your rifle. Like, remember, I know what your aim looks like, and I'm not saying that you have the most fantastic, amazing aim in the world, but your aim is not, oh my god, this is terrible either. If it was, we'd be going, hey, what we need to do is do some aim work. And that's fine. At some point we potentially will, but your aim is not such that you should be going, I'm just gonna lob TNT to try to finish these guys off in the open when it's a single target. Use your TNT properly. And again, that means we can TNT people to get them as they're going by in cover. We can TNT groups of people. We can potentially throw a TNT as a projectile to control their movement to shoot them when they go away from the TNT. Those are all valid things, but if they're already in the open, 9 times out of 10, if they're alone, we just want to use our rifle on them. Have ourselves a good rifle as Ashe here. Let's use it. Let's win with it. Cool. We can talk about Bob. Do I want to talk about a third thing? We could talk about Bob. We could talk about crosshair placement. I kind of want to talk about crosshair placement for you. Yeah, let's get into that. Let's get into mechanics of aim, because that's something that we are going to need to develop for you. And we've talked about this a little bit throughout this match, but again, I want your crosshair when you're rotating, when there's no opponents on your screen, I want you just going, hey, my crosshair is going to be where an opponent is most likely to show up. So like I might be walking over here, but my crosshair is just hanging out where an opponent is most likely to show up. You see how I'm doing this, where my crosshair is just constantly holding where an opponent is likely to show up? Oh, and then I flip and start shooting at it, etc., and then I unpeak again. And then as I go like this, and I go like that. And that's sort of what you're doing. That's what you're doing when you're playing the game. That's how you control crosshair in an FPS in general. And it's important because it will give you faster reactions on the opponent. It is not the most important thing for you to work on. You knowing where your cover is and sort of being able to quickly retreat to it when you take damage, playing very close to it, knowing where it is immediately, that's more important. And getting this TNT right is more important, because you are actually missing out on a fair number of eliminations because you're trying to finish people off with TNT that don't make sense to finish off with TNT. So we want to fix those two things first, but the longer term sort of mechanical thing we can work on is this crosshair placement. I don't expect you to master any of these in a day, but try to put your focus on these one at a time and work through them. Work through them with 5 to 15% of your brain power. Focus specifically on the one thing that you're trying to work on and get that locked in there. And I know we've talked about this TNT before. It was very recent, but we've talked about this before, and I can tell you it's not there yet. Definitely need to keep the focus on it. But yeah, other than that, good win here. And I did see that you were doing more in terms of the high ground stuff. You were thinking more about the off angles a little bit at least. So that was good. That was good. Okay. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that helps out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate it. If you have questions, you can throw them up in chat now. If you have questions and you are not watching this live and you want to be like, wait, I want to be able to ask temporal questions, that sounds awesome. Best way to do that is to join my Discord, and then in my Discord, you are able to go to the Get Notifications tab, the Get Notifications channel, and in the Get Notifications channel, if you just react in there to the post, you'll be able to get pings when I go live. So you can see, is this a topic I'm interested in, a hero I'm interested in, a rank I'm interested in, any of those sort of things, and you can show up here and ask questions, and I generally do a pretty good job of answering those. And if I'm ignoring your questions, well, super chat works. I obviously won't ignore those. Okay. Wait, how long is left in the VOD? Well, the VOD's over now. We'll still do questions if people have them, but hey. The Mercy is healed batting a Rhine. My eyes need to be cleaned. I know, YS, I know. What examples would you use dynamite to control their movement? Do you mean when they're about to retreat to cover, you can use dynamite towards the cover to... Yes, exactly, JP. And an example of that could have been right here, where if you're Ashe and you're fighting a soldier, and there's a soldier right here, and you throw TNT over here, you're like, nope, here's the TNT right over here. If he goes behind cover, it'll be a problem. If he goes this way in general, it'll be a problem. So it'll probably actually force him more this way, which controls his movement, which makes him easier to hit even with your hit scan shots. Like that. And it works here because his movement options are somewhat limited. If you throw this, his only options are go down the stairs, go behind the cover, drop, which isn't great, or go here. But because this narrow bridge is in play, his movement options are more controlled than usual. So controlling them a bit more with TNT can have some good value. Did you see Major Midget's recent Reddit post about educational Overwatch comments? Sorry if you've already spoken about it. Hey GK, yeah, I saw it. I didn't really have an issue with it. I could do a reaction video to it, I suppose. But my big thing would be, based on that, Major Midget clearly has a soft spot or a taste preference for macro stuff, and it's pretty obvious if you look at how he's rated stuff, which is fine. I like the macro stuff too a lot, so I've got no issue with that. And I think Major Midget's great. I've seen Major Midget's guides. I've promoted Major Midget's guides before. Major Midget does a fine job. We even interviewed him here on this channel. You guys can go do a search for him in the channel, and you'll see that we interviewed him. So yeah, he's a good guy, but I thought his tier list was fine. I can see his preferences in it, and his preferences definitely steer towards he likes macro content. And his preferences also steer a little bit towards he tends to respect authority a little too much. Authority over accuracy. And you can actually see it in his Reddit post. And he just doesn't know better because he doesn't know who's right and who's wrong. Some of the creators that he rated strongly, I don't think myself. I mean, obviously, I'd rate myself highly. I'd rate myself a little bit higher than he did, though he did give me a strong ranking. But some of the other people that he ranked highly, they're good. They're good, some of the other people that he ranked highly, and I don't want to bash on them too hard, but there's people who... How do I want to delicately put this? Because I don't want to be like, oh, that's terrible, they make a ton of mistakes, because none of the people that he ranked highly really do, but he rated accuracy as like a very important point, but I don't think he felt comfortable enough himself or has a good enough understanding himself at the highest levels to really go, well, who's doing a better job with their analysis? Is Hayes doing a better job with their macro analysis? Is Natter doing a better job with their macro analysis? Is Egoist Cat doing a better job with their macro analysis? Or is, Temporal when I do it? It doesn't matter. I can put myself here. Or who else did we get there that's good? Spilo, Hayes, Natter, Egoist Cat, Temporal, Spilo. Who else was in there? Lucid. And I don't actually think he had a great way. So I can tell you that I have opinions over who's best and worst on this list. I can tell you that Spilo has opinions over who's best and worst on this list, and it has to do with their accuracy, and it has to do with how much we've worked through and been like, no, this conclusion is wrong. No, this conclusion is wrong. An example of that would be Spilo beat me to it, but Spilo went and brought on Egoist Cat when Egoist Cat did one maybe a month ago, and it was, hey, Egoist Cat, I think you're wrong about this. And they fought over it a little bit. There was some clarification, etc., that happened. But, that's the sort of thing that we're all constantly doing to each other. And while I'm not going to share my tier list on these guys, maybe I will at some future point, it's kind of dangerous. It's the sort of thing where I don't agree with his order of people necessarily, because I look at this and go, I have different beliefs. I have more accurate beliefs of who is and isn't getting some of their more complicated, harder stuff right. Not like the stuff that everyone gets right, but like when Egoist Cat is talking about, okay, how you teams fade back and push into stuff with ults. You can get a little into it, or how these angles work. You can get a little into it. And I don't mean to pick on Egoist Cat. Egoist Cat does good content. Um, Egoist Cat would not have been actually my biggest objection in the placement on this one, but I'm just using that as an example because Spilo already brought Egoist Cat on and they fought that one out a little bit as an example. And I don't think Major Midget currently has the expertise. I think he's trying to build into it. I think he's trying to do more team coaching and build into it, and I think he'll be able to potentially better in the future. But I don't think, even though he's like accuracy is my number one criteria, I don't think he actually has these guys right if he's making accuracy his biggest criteria. Like, I think most of us would probably shuffle it, maybe not most of us, but I at least know people in my circles in the coaching world would have shuffled this because we have opinions over how accurate some of these people are. Yeah. Okay. Um, Okay, thanks. I think Macro 2, I like Macro 2, it's interesting. Macro is super interesting and I really like Macro 2, but Macro it's sort of a well that it's not a how shall I put this? The return on investment for working on Macro, like I can do macro work and I can make macro videos, and I've put macro videos up there. I've put macro videos up there for, hey, this is how this works. I did a macro video for how to do Doomfist Brawl versus May Brawl. I did a macro video for how to do Brawl versus Poke using Forgiver and Direwolves as an example. For the other one, I used, what was the example I used? I used I think I used Revival and American Tornado for the May Brawl versus Doomfist Brawl. Those are things I've done relatively recently. A couple years back, I did a ton of macro. I had the best macro content, full stop, a couple years ago. But the thing that you run into is I can pump out these. I can do a lot more of these than I can of the macro stuff because it's a lot more work to come to your conclusions and be like, okay, let me not just to come to your conclusions, but decide how and what you want to use to share it to do the macro work. I like macro work and I could do more macro work, but it's always a cost benefit. What's the balance? What makes sense in total? And I can tell you, while people really respected and liked my macro work, and my macro work potentially got more views, it did get more views than most of my individual VOD review stuff does. It didn't get significant, well, yeah, even more VOD reviews than my OWL player reviews did. It doesn't, for the amount of work it takes, for the amount that goes into it, for the amount of time, not even close. Like on a return on investment, not even close to the stuff that I do here. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm always going to do VOD review stuff all the time. You guys know I do reaction stuff. I evaluate other people's guides if they want to put them out there. I do stuff where I do OWL reviews, both players and matches. And we've talked a little bit about other video games. We react to the news sometimes. Like, there's lots that we can do here, and I'm willing to do more macro as well. I have done macro as well, even in the last couple months, like I've said, and I could potentially do more of that. But I'm always sort of juggling, looking for what does the market want here, and by the market, I mean you guys. Um, so yeah, I like macro a lot too. It's just the return on investment is not quite as good as I've found on some other things. Okay. I like macro too. It's interesting. He smells funny. You might get a lot of micro stuff, but that isn't a problem in my opinion, because at the end of every review, you always highlight the 2 to 3 big things to work on. Yeah, well, we're using macro and micro differently. When I talk about macro, I'm talking about sort of team play, the strategy, how you want to go do stuff. And when I'm talking about micro, I'm more talking about kind of the individual play. I think what you're probably referring to is, well, that's fine. Yeah, yeah. Like my referring to what this Ashe should work on is, hey, how to use their TNT, having cover, and crosshair placement. You might only think of the crosshair placement there as micro, but all three of those things are micro. All three of those things would be micro. Macro would be much more of a, okay, we're going to think about this as a, because your Hanzo is controlling this angle, you need to be controlling this angle in this team composition on this map, etc. Or because of the status of the ults, you need to understand that you actually need to jump them and take this fight early and try to run them over because they have 6 ults and you have 1, and your only real chance is to go, we're just going to surprise them and run them over. Or we're going to make this fight super slow and grindy and not let them have a clean way to engage because we're just using hard cover, taxing every inch, not letting them get in, and then by the time they're actually able to get in, we have 3 ults and we have a way to win the game. Like, those would be more macro things. Where, okay, they're running this comp, so let's make our 2 swaps to get to a comp that beats them. But oh no, if we do our 2 swaps to get to a comp that beats them, they have to do 6 swaps to get to a comp that beats us. We're on the better composition. Even if they can swap to beat us, our swap is minor, their swap is huge. That would be more macro stuff. And how the words usually get used in the Overwatch world. Macro helps me understand how Overwatch functions more as a team game. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I really enjoy it, but the audience potentially for that macro stuff is people who really like understanding how the team game works, some tier 3 players, some tier 2 players, and that's kind of it. Like, the audience isn't nearly as big for that as, well, how do I play, a Diamond Anna review is useful to all the Plat Annas. And unfortunately, all the Plat Annas is a lot bigger of a pool than the number of people that are interested in, well, how exactly does Winston Brawl work? How does Talon Dive work? I should do a video on how Talon Dive works, actually. But regardless, that's kind of my point there. That said, I'm going to do some of all of it. It's not all going to be like, oh, what is the biggest, what has the most views by itself? But, that is a driving metric. I do stuff to have a little bit for everyone, but, I also have to divide my time in a way that makes sense. I agree, JP. I don't think macro helps as much as micro for ladder play. That's kind of true. You can actually get a little too fixated on the macro of, well, I won't swap off of this because we should be able to beat them with this, or the best swap is if our DPS go swap instead, but they're not going to do it, and you're too fixed in the macro play. That can happen to some players. You have to work with what you get in ladder, which is great to say you don't know what you're going to get. Yep. And then JP, lol, yeah. But yeah, so yeah, no, I saw Major Midget's tier list. I wasn't offended by Major Midget's tier list or anything. Sorry if you guys were hoping that I'd go have some flame war with him. I still like Major Midget, think he did a good job with his guides. And what was I saying? And it looked like we picked up 20 subscribers yesterday, and I expect that was, while it could have been the wonderful life advice video we did yesterday, I suspect it's more likely that it's a result of that tier list going up and that driving some traffic over here, because he did link everyone's work, which was mature of him. Not everyone is that good when they're doing stuff, and he's gone better about that sort of thing in general too, where in his guides where he's pulling together stuff from Spilo, from IOSDux, from myself, from Jane, from people like that. He's actually linked our content now there in his guides as well, which I appreciate. Not everyone does that, and it should be the common courtesy thing to do. Okay. Do you think people watching these VODs can pick up the player's bad habits unconsciously? I mean, do I think it's theoretically possible? I suppose it's theoretically possible, but I wouldn't be too worried about it because we're watching these critically. We're watching these videos critically, so your brain is sort of on as you're watching these things, and you've got this temporal voice telling you about, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Go get to your cover. Go get to your cover. And with the number of people that tell me that they can hear me in their head going, why are you here? What are you doing? Reset. This is a lost fight, etc. I suspect that it's really not too big a deal because no, you should be getting value out of these, not getting oops, I accidentally set bad habits. Is there some risk of it? Yeah, there's probably some, but I'd rate that as pretty darn minor. That's nice of him. He does trash the llama. I'm not getting in the middle of that beef, so maybe it's not all bad. Yeah, I'm not getting in the middle of that beef. But I've already given my opinion on that. I mean, you guys know what happened. There was the Spilo did a review of Llama's BAP, and Spilo was correct, or not Llama. Spilo did a review of Llama's review of a Plat Sigma, and Llama's understanding of Sigma was wrong, and Spilo's was right. And Major Midget clearly didn't like that Llama did the review, and I can completely understand why Major Midget really didn't like that, but Major Midget really didn't like that. And I've said my piece there. Spilo was correct in his evaluation that VOD review was not done well. And hopefully Llama's improved as a result of that and others. He said he focuses too much on entertainment over education. Yeah, but so does your Overwatch, so does Action Esports, so does Jane, really. Yeah. If you could pick up habits from watching VODs, I'd watch a lot more high elo VODs. Well, that's the thing. Like, you have lots of people who are just watching pro streamers constantly, and they didn't magically pick up all their habits, unfortunately. YS thinks Stylos is okay, but there's some heroes he just clearly doesn't understand. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. I'm not seeing anything else here, so I think I'm going to call this one here. Remember, if you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe. And with that, we're going to call it here. Thanks. Temporal out.